9 out of 10 cryptozoologistes préfèrent Frame 350 to Forter Bigfoot related discussion. Don't be that one guy. It like and subscribe.
Good evening, friends, and everybody else. Happy New Year. Today is January 1, 2025. The alliterative working title of today's episode is The Pseudoscience of Sasquatch. Actually, there is science. There is science in the search for Sasquatch. I am going to pick out on a case-by-case basis the unscientific approach and methods and conclusions, premises, assumptions, and in particular to illustrate the problem with if we're going to use a metaphor, let's say there's a core of truth, possibly, maybe there could be a Sasquatch. Why shouldn't people look for it? But looking for Sasquatch and evaluating evidence from all over, processing all the metadata, that might be legitimate research. But you have a case like this. What we're looking at are the Rick Jacobs photos, colloquially named Pennsylvania Trail Cam Junior Sasquatch photos. And Mr. Jacobs had a trail cam set up with some deer scent, and there was a salt lake there. And he captured some creatures at night. It was mid-September, September 16, 2007, shortly after 8 o'clock at night. Now, mid-September can be warm during the day and quite cool at night, and it gets colder, and by October, mid-October, you have the peak of foliage. That's in another month. And any time, snow can fly. So let's be considerate of the kind of fauna that we run into in that area of the world, which is the area I am in. But I'm not in Pennsylvania, but I'm in the Northeast. So the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization website, and they have a section devoted to the Jacobs photos. Now, in the last episode of this channel, I used this photo, image number 3, to demonstrate that what we were looking at was a bear. And very quickly, I'll outline the bear's features. There we go. Okay, here's the unenhanced copied image from the BFRO website. Image number 3 was taken at 8:32 and 41 seconds, which was about 28 seconds after image number 2. And image number 2 was taken this is taken 26 seconds after image number 2. Image number 2 was taken about 28 minutes after the first image of the bear cubs. Now, remember, these 3 photos are the only photos the public has to go on. There's no series, there's no video, nothing. So we just have these 3 photos, and this is number 3. And the images number 2 and 3 are very peculiar. The subject doesn't present itself very clearly. The photos are kind of low grade. They're not that clear. They're taken at night. Maybe it's early trail cam technology. And it's not the fault of people who don't see a bear. It's very hard to see, and it has to be brought out. To be fair, it does look like a guy, some hairy guy, or a chimpanzee is what I originally thought, bent over, like with its head on the ground, like who knows what, doing some kind of acrobatic pose. But the skeptic in me, the first problem I had with this, when this came out, I remember when it first came out, was the people who instantly call it a Bigfoot, instantly flock to the Bigfoot hypothesis. And it seems like they prey on, whenever there's a photo, it's so ambiguous. It does look like, here's a back leg and here's a back leg. And it's bent over. Zoom in. So it looks like it's bent over. And as I said in the last video, I thought this was an armpit, which reminds me I'm going to outline the bear's head. Here's an ear. Here's an ear. Here's the jowls, the head, the round head. Here's the muzzle, the jaw. Here's the nose, the other side of the face, the other side of the head, the eye, the nearly hairless ridge of the top of the snout, and then you got the nose down here, and then this is a foreleg. This is not a back leg, this is a foreleg. Yes, the paw's turned in. Yes, bears can do that if they want to. Maybe they don't all the time. But just because a bear doesn't do something all the time doesn't mean it doesn't engage in novel behavior. This could be novel behavior, and maybe bears do it more often than Bigfoot believers care to believe. Here's the right forepaw and moving up the right leg. Here's the girth of the bear. It looks like, I don't really know if this is it, but it does look like the ridge of the spine and a hip bone. And if this is a hip bone, and if that's the ridge of the spine, this bear may have been in trouble that winter, because mid-September, bears should be putting on a lot of weight for winter because they're going to hibernate. So I think the Pennsylvania Game Department got it right when they called this a bear. I don't know if it has mange or if it has some other problem, or if it has no problem at all because this is such a shitty photo. Right? Honestly? Sure. Dishonestly? No. It's clearly must be a Sasquatch. Why? Because it doesn't look like a bear. But, in fact, it is a bear, and I just demonstrated its bareness, and you can see now. Right? See that's a bear? Now, it's not that I want you to see things my way. I don't care about that as much as if I see a bear and it's a bear. Look at that. Telling me that's not a bear? That is a bear, my friend. That's a Pennsylvania black bear. That's what we got there. Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh. So, once we've determined that we're looking at a bear, and we had to get to image number 3 in the series to get what we needed to make a determination. The rest of this doesn't matter. This is also the same creature because it was 26 seconds earlier. And that creature we saw, if we did some kind of animation, and maybe I will in a future episode, I'm not prepared at this time, we could see it move, jump into position. However, it took 26 seconds. It's a long time. You ever put a cup of tea in the microwave for 30 seconds? It's a little bit of a wait, but not long enough for a Sasquatch to swap places, or a bear to swap places with a Sasquatch, as if they were in some kind of conspiracy. Speaking of conspiracies, here we go. Let's read the text because that's important to the theme of this particular episode. How do we know it's a Sasquatch and not a bear? Also notice these weaselly titles here, these weaselly captions. Unclassified primate? Well, how about, what is it? Wouldn't that be a better question to ask here? How did they get to primate? It does look like a primate, right? Yeah, I first thought it looked like a chimp, but then a couple things, there were a couple problems with being a chimp. The environment and figuring out that this was a bear. That presents a problem to the primate theory. How do we know it's a Sasquatch and not a bear? A Sasquatch. How do we know it's a Sasquatch and not a bear? So, because they went right to Sasquatch, and because it's not clearly a bear. So it's not clearly a bear, it must be a Sasquatch, right? I mean, that's how it works. The distinction between ape anatomy. So, here we're going to read about ape anatomy, but this isn't an ape, it's a bear. So, everything in this paragraph is bullshit. Complete bullshit. Okay, watch. The figure has its face pressed against the ground to smell some aromatic deer attractant. And there was, we can assume there was some deer attractant there. The bear cubs were there sniffing around. That's probably happened. And the obvious limb ratio issue. I love it when these guys start assaulting us with technical jargon that is used irresponsibly. Why is it an obvious limb ratio issue? One of the many problems. Oh my gosh, am I going to enumerate some problems? But their assumption is wrong, so everything after that, everything that follows is wrong. If they can't acknowledge that this is a bear, then every other conclusion they're going to reach, every method, every measurement, every analysis, every next step is the wrong step. They're on the wrong foot. And because they're on the wrong footing, and willfully, they don't care, they've decided this is a Sasquatch. When a bear bends down to sniff the ground, it should be more or less like a large dog. And, it is, right? Yeah. And this doesn't look that way. And that is not the fault of us. It's a bad photo, and the bear is not posing well. So we have a problem with a camera that's not really taking great night pictures. They're okay. I mean, even the bear cub isn't something you'd frame on the wall, right? Speaking of which, our minds are predisposed to recognize this shape is in our deepest racial human consciousness since we're cave people. we recognize that. We recognize it as a bear. We don't recognize this as a bear. I don't recognize it as a bear, but it's a bear. But the problem isn't that it's not a bear. The problem is it's a bear. It's a picture taken of a bear with a not really a great camera, not really a great pose. It didn't exactly say cheese for us here. So it does look like a primate, but it's not. It's a bear. So everything that follows this whole paragraph is moot. It doesn't matter. They disagree with the Pennsylvania Game Commission, which concluded that this was a bear with mange. And again, I don't know if it has mange. I don't know what the condition of the bear is, but I do know it's a bear. If this picture is a bear, then this one is a bear. It doesn't matter. Limb ratios no longer matter. If this is a bear, you can take all the limb ratios measurements you want from this photograph. And if you determine it's not a bear, you're the one who has to change. You have to correct your methodology. What else can I say about that? If this is a bear and you're calling it a Sasquatch, you're the problem. You have a problem. Now, curiously, they write, curiously, when some people hear a single scientist has flippantly concluded, by the way, as I'm doing here, without any substantiation, by the way, as I'm not doing here, because I'm substantiating it with an outline of the bear here. I'm substantiating my claim. I'm substantiating my argument. I'm pointing it out to you. I'm drawing a picture. Literally and figuratively, I'm drawing you a picture. Look at that. Look. Ta-da! Little piggy eye of the black bear. Look at the snout. You're saying that's not substantiation? I call that substantiation. Getting back here. Okay, that the image shows a bear, yes. They'll figure the case is closed. Yes, the case is closed because it's a bear. And since it's a bear, it doesn't matter what you think. You're not going to keep the case open because it's already been determined to be a bear. Then, how do you not understand it? Then later on, some other scientist, here we go, has some math statistics in her background. So here, this is a logical fallacy, or at least very edging on a logical fallacy, called the argument to authority, which says that, you're going to use, like in the 60s, they had these commercials with the actors dressed in white lab jackets and vinyl pocket protector, carrying a clipboard, wearing glasses, saying, 9 out of 10 doctors prefer this deodorant, or, even smoke Lucky Strike. So they're using that here. They're going to rely on scientists to make this a Sasquatch. Even though it's a bear, if they start invoking scientists directly, or even the threat of invoking scientists, then it's going to be a Sasquatch, by gob, who perhaps has some math-statistics in his or her background. May step forward and, 3D CGI. Yep. Interesting things that are unarguable about the primate-like anatomy of the figure. It is primate-like. It is primate-like. The only problem is it's not a primate, it's a bear, so why go on after this very sentence? They don't have to, it's a bear. They didn't have to make this whole page. based on some mathematical probabilities of the limb ratio and shape. Mathematical. All right, we've got mathematical. We got Sasquatch, and we've got mathematical probabilities of the limb ratio and shape. Damn those limb ratios. I thought we killed them off. No, they're back. Limb ratios and shape, the problem is that's a bear. So if you're taking limb ratios and shapes and you're not, and based on your methods, on your application, you're not finding it's a bear, but it is a bear. So you have the problem. So these guys have a problem. Everything, they've started with the premise that this must be a Sasquatch. There's no way. They haven't exhausted every condition, every possibility. Once again, we take a kind of a grainy, kind of out of focus photo of something, again, behind a shrub. You know it? Not a big one this time. And since it's not absolutely clear, like this is absolutely clear, they knew they couldn't get away with calling this a baby Sasquatch. They knew they couldn't get away with it. So by saying, oh, we know that one's a bear, we can tell that's a bear, but these are clearly different, they must be a Sasquatch. In a way, it's sort of trying to reinforce their credibility by saying, oh, but we can reject this example here. But they're not being critical enough, and I don't think they're being, I don't know if they're being intellectually honest or if they're being honest with themselves. Maybe they are, maybe some are, maybe some deep inside they know that is a bear. And if that number 3 is bear, that number 2 is the same creature, it's a bear. You can take all the limb ratios you want, and they're correctable margins of error. Yes, we should use jargon here. Limb ratios and correctable margins of error. And live substantial delta. Okay, delta is the Greek letter, it looks like a triangle. It means change or difference. The substantial difference between bears and apes. So here we're making a false dichotomy. There's no dichotomy here, bear or ape. It's bear. It's one thing. It's not bear or ape. It's a bear.